Hi everybody, Gary Hubbell, ALC, United Country Colorado Brokers and Auctioneers. I'm the managing broker and the auctioneer with this company. And here we have Loren Williams.
Loren Williams, broker associate here at United Country Colorado Brokers and Auctioneers.
And we're both members of UC Hunting Properties as well. We shouldn't forget that.
Yep.
So, Loren, I am here to poke you this morning, and I don't think you're going to like it. Okay, are you ready for this?
Poke away.
I don't like it either. All right, so we're here to talk about the 30 by 30 initiative, and I'm here to tell you what it is. I want your thoughts of what you think it is, and then I'll tell you what I've learned yesterday in a podcast that was sponsored by Richard Thompson of United Country Real Estate. He's one of our chief vice presidents, I think, is his title. Great guy, strong supporter of the Realtors Land Institute. And we spent an hour yesterday learning about the 30 by 30 initiative. Ready? What do you think it is?
Well, just the basics of it. I know that it's 30% conservation of lands by 2030. It seems to have been changing quite a bit over the last few years, so I'm not familiar with all the details of it.
Okay, so let me clue you in. There's a lady named Margaret Byfield, and she is with the American Stewards of Liberty, and they're based out of Texas. They will be having a summit in Irving, Texas, September 21 through 23 of this year, 2023, and talking about this 30 by 30 initiative. And basically, you got the nuts and bolts of it correct, where they are proposing to conserve up to 30% of our national land base, not of public lands, by the year 2030. So that's only 7 years away. And right now, currently, they guess that we have about 12% of our land is conserved through either parks and national parks, national monuments, wilderness areas, U.S. Forest Service, and BLM lands. So they want to almost triple that. They want to do 2.5 times that and conserve that much land in the next 7 years. And then the other part of it is that they have what's called I'm going through my notes here, but they want two zones to go all the way from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. And one is for wolves and the other one is for beaver. Okay, so they want a continuous land base that connects all the way from north to south for those two species. And really and truly the ultimate goal that they're after, and they're not saying that they're going to stop at 30 by 30. Their goal is to conserve 50% of all the lands on the continental U.S. or in the United States in general, Alaska, Hawaii included. 50%. Now, how does that strike you? What do you know about all this stuff? You've got some credentials, don't you?
Yeah. I work hand in hand here with Colorado Parks and Wildlife as far as some things go.
Your title is what?
I'm a state board chair with the Sports Persons Roundtable there. We do discuss things of this nature. I would say first impression on this is I find it ironic that people out of big cities on the East Coast are telling us that we need to conserve land when we've been doing that out here for many generations and trying to do it. When if you looked at a map of what is open space and public lands and conservation, I think we have the majority of it in this part of the country. But,
right. We have, what's our land base in public lands in Colorado, 50%?
Yeah, Colorado's pretty close to 50%, somewhere in the high 40s, I do believe.
Now, the Center for American Progress is one of the major sponsors, or that's where the major push is coming from. And now you hear the Center for American what?
Progress.
The progressive agenda. Okay, so that's who's pushing this. Now, one of the first things that Joe Biden did when he took office was what? Very first day.
Undo just about everything by executive order, cancel Keystone Pipeline.
Keystone Pipeline and leases on oil and gas leases. Right? So he banned all new oil and gas drilling leases on public lands in the United States of America, right? So that he's taken his marching orders from these organizations. Now, immediately you saw gas prices shoot up another 30 or 40%, or even double in some places. We were right around $2 a gallon during the Trump administration. Look, we're getting political here because this is reality. So, and by the way, if you don't think I'm going to get political, sorry, I'm going to. So they're saying that if we don't do this 30 by 30, that 1 million species will go extinct. 1 million species will go extinct. That we are, quote, losing a football field of habitat every 30 seconds. That 2/3 of development is on private lands and only 1% of private lands are permanently protected. Wait a minute. You know what that sounds like to me? Sounds like a land grab. Sounds like they're coming after privately owned lands to force you to do something that you may or may not want to do. Does it sound like?
Sounds to me like they want to funnel everybody into the cities where you're more easily controlled, and then have everything outside of that within their control.
Interesting that you note that, because the Staircase Escalante Wilderness Study Area in southern Utah. You familiar with it? Mm-hmm. I think it's 1.8 million acres, and it was created with the stroke of a pen by, I think it was Obama. And then Trump actually shrank the total acreage that is found in that Escalante staircase. They actually want to make it so restrictive in that area that nobody can go in. No recreation, no hiking, no nothing. Stay out of it entirely, just by executive order. Now, where this 30 by 30 is coming from in the American public today, the body politic of the American people today, is this was a 57-page executive order that was signed by President Biden. And it was never legislated. It was never passed by Congress. It was never funded. It was just signed with a pen. And so it leaves things in a very uncertain fashion. So what does that mean for landowners? What does that mean for public land management? Are you aware that BLM, a couple of BLM areas came up for, they do a redraft of their land use plans every, 10 years or 30 years or whatever. And now they inserted in those land plans for BLM lands conservation as a use. But what does that mean? That means that we take all the cattle grazing off of that and conserve it. That means that, oh, by the way, what do you do, Loren, for a living, other than sell large ranch properties and real estate?
Outfitting and farming.
Well, now with a wolf corridor, you're a bad guy, because, the average wolf needs 29 elk a year, eats 29 elk a year, right? So there you are, guiding hunters for a profit, you dirty son of a gun, and making money off of our public resources. And so those guys coming from Pennsylvania or Florida or California, Michigan, wherever they're coming from, you're taking them in the high country on horseback and providing them a wilderness experience, and their goal is to actually kill an animal, and then you pack it out on a horse, and then you take it to a game processing facility so that they can take it home and eat it. Is that true?
That is true, yeah. And in that process, we also
Well, Loren, stop. But then if you do that, then you're going to be disrupting the wolf corridor. You're literally taking elk out of the mouths of hungry wolves.
Well, my small fiddle is playing for the wolves that are out there.
So you see where this is coming from?
I bet you can ask an elk what they'd rather die by, whether that was a hunter's bullet or
getting hamstrung by a wolf pack,
having their guts eaten while they're still alive out of them. But hey, that's just me.
That's just you. So, Loren, if you study this fact sheet right here from the Center for American Progress, they say we're losing, that if we don't do this 30 by 30 initiative, that 1 million species will go extinct. We'll lose a football field of habitat every 30 seconds, that 2/3 of development on private lands is, and only 1% is protected, and then only 12% of total lands in the U.S. Okay, that's off their website, right? Now, if we scroll down here and we look at the Department of Interior fact sheet, I'm going to read this. Fact sheet. President Biden to take action to uphold commitment to restore balance on public lands and waters, invest in clean energy future. Approximately 60% of land in the continental U.S. is in a natural state, but we are losing a football field worth every 30 seconds. 1 million animal and plant species are at risk of extinction. Only 12% of lands are permanently protected. So who do you think they're taking their marching orders from?
That would be special interest groups that are looking to push that side. I find it interesting where their numbers are. I mean, this is the first time I'm reading these things, but I don't really know how you could quantify 1 million species going extinct. I mean, just a quick news
I didn't even know there was a million species.
Well, just a quick news flash for everybody. 99.9% of the species that have ever existed on planet Earth have gone extinct. And that happened long before two-legged men ever walked this planet.
So what it says here that in the land and habitat, now this is a study by the Heritage Foundation. A guy named Rob Gordon wrote this. He said that of the lands in the lower 48, that 24% is forest, 21.8% is shrub and scrub, 16.3% is cultivated crops, and only 5.3% of our land mass is developed. And of that, developed lands, 54% is in open space. City parks, golf courses, you know, and a lot of developments now are required to have open space around them. So there will be a buffer of open space, maybe half mile wide, quarter mile wide, between that set of houses and that housing development too. So what they're saying is even of the 5.3% of land mass in the U.S. that is developed, 54% of it is already in open space anyway. 28% of that developed land is in low density, 13% is in medium density, and 5% is high density. Now, what it would require is if we are to protect 30% of the U.S. by 2030, that would require 440 million acres to be set aside. 440 million acres. And that is a huge chunk of the American landmass. So, what's your reaction to this, Loren?
Well, I don't know. I guess if they really want to talk about conservation, maybe they should come to the hunters, the fishermen, the ranchers, everybody else that do make their living off the land, have to conserve that land and make that land last generations. It's, again, somehow ironic to me to find very large city-dwelling people putting this out there and lecturing on this.
You wonder where they live, don't you? Hey, by the way, let's back up a little bit. You and I took a class over in Denver. Craig Kaiser taught it. It was what was that on? Tell us about it.
That was on renewable energy, solar, wind leases, carbon credits, etc.
Okay, right. So that was an accredited land consultant class. That was an ALC class given by the Realtors Land Institute. And how many agents were in the room? 25?
Yeah, 25, 30, somewhere in there.
So, and that was kind of a one-off. I don't think that class has ever been offered again. So literally, we are 2 of the 25 real estate professionals in the United States that are very well educated on the uses, the land uses for solar and wind power generation, geothermal, etc. Tell me, Loren, please, how many acres does it require for a wind power field?
Typically, what is a minimum of 5 acre footprint, up to 10 to bring everything around
I think it was 600 times the land mass needed to generate the same amount of electric power as a coal-fired power plant. And then I think it was 60 times, or maybe it was 600 times, that same amount. I think it was 60 times for a solar field to generate the same amount of power. So on one hand, they're telling us that go green, go green, go green, go green, and to go green, we're going to have to get used to seeing a lot more windmills and a lot more solar farms. Yet on the other hand, they're saying we want to conserve 30% of the U.S. by 2030. Seems like a big contradiction in terms to me, doesn't it to you?
Yeah, it's going to take an awful lot of acreage and an awful lot of open space to to put those things together and build those massive arrays.
How do you think they're going to fund all this? Because what we're talking about is taking from landowners, taking from corporations, but basically their land grab is after the land that is in private ownership. And if you're talking a wolf corridor, and let's revisit this. Remember Agenda 21? It's the same idea recycled over and over again, right? They didn't get it done, and it was supposed to be done by 2021. That's why it was called Agenda 21. Now it's 30 by 30. Remember livestock free by 93, right? I don't know, you were probably 10 years old then, right?
I was probably starting my high school career about then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Livestock free by 93. What was that goal all about? That was about extinguishing all cattle grazing leases on public lands throughout the West or anywhere in the country, right? So this agenda just keeps getting recycled again and again and again, and this is the latest iteration of it. But I want to find a note in here that I took yesterday when I was taking this class, and it was talking about carbon sequestration. The 50 by 50 initiative is really where they want to go, and they want to call it rewilding the American West, and creating two corridors, one for the wolf, one for the beaver, and that would be achieved either by condemnation or conservation easements. Now, and here's the note I was looking for. It's called the half-Earth philosophy, where 50% of lands and ocean worldwide is their goal to have preserved. Who's behind it? Same cast of characters: Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, George Soros, and the World Economic Forum. So here it is, expressed loud and clear: the half-Earth philosophy, the 30 by 30 initiative. Now, again, to repackage, it was livestock free by 93, then it was Agenda 21, now it's 30 by 30. Now they come up with something cuter, because it sounds a little draconian to have that 30 by 30. It sounds like forceful. And so now what they're going to do is they're going to call it, hold on a second. It's Center for American Progress. It's, National Geographic is deeply involved with this as well. But it's going to be called something milder and gentler, like America the Beautiful. I think that's what it's called now. America the Beautiful, and everybody get behind it. It's easier to get behind America the Beautiful than 30 by 30. Kind of sounds like a deer rifle.
Well, most of those people that you named off there, I know they're massive landowners within the country and around the world. I'd be surprised if they're going to donate back all their Amazon warehouse space or all of Bill Gates' ranch or all of any of that. I mean, my thing is you first. We're all conservationists. We agree. We want to conserve land.
Sure.
That's why we live the place that we do.
Well, it's like Ben and Jerry's, saying that we stole all the, everybody's private property entities in the United States have been stolen from a Native American tribe. And the challenge was, okay, Ben and Jerry's, give up your corporate headquarters and your ice cream factory first. You first.
Yeah, the NIMBY crowd doesn't sit very well with me.
Okay, so anyway, the 30 by 30 initiative, I think we need to be very, very focused on it. We need to know that there's an insidious agenda, that it's always marching forward, that they're never giving up. They are always repackaging it. They are always coming up with another name and another way, and if they can't get it by legislation, they will do it by executive fiat. And we have to be very, very conscious of it. What do you see in your dealings with the Colorado Wildlife Commission and Parks and Wildlife along these lines? Are you seeing this type of an agenda pop up?
It is, and it's not so much within the the ground level folks at CPW.
No, those are your
I
rank
still,
and file
yeah,
game wardens.
I still think
Yeah.
to this day that we are lucky to have probably the most premier and the best wildlife agency in the U.S., if not in the world. I think they've done incredible things with what they have here. But the problem is that yes, there are forces in higher government and within a commission structure and within things where they are putting people with certain agendas in those positions of power for them to get their desired outcome of things, not understanding the North American model of game management, not understanding conservation, not understanding the multiple use of public
Doctrine,
lands
right.
and what that benefit entails to everybody, and I do feel like it's getting steered in a direction of special interests in certain groups.
So now that this has been expressed somewhat clearly, I could have done a little bit better job of packaging it, but now that I've explained to you who they are and what their agenda is, does it make sense?
Yeah, it does, and it's something that is land professionals, landowners, people that are out there, sports people. These are things that we need to really be on top of and aware of.
Well, and to add to that point, Loren, I am an accredited land consultant. You are studying for your ALC designation, and we do transact a lot of land. We sold a medium-sized property the other day, and it was 383 acres. Well, most real estate agents will never sell anything bigger than 5 acres. I mean, we are a small percentage of the people out there that have a real estate license and are actively practicing. But this has big consequences for the types of landowners that we serve. I mean, if we are not aware of this and can activate our membership and our clients to act on all of our behalves, we're going to have a problem here. This is coming like a freight train.
Well, seems to be, and as you said, they've been trying it for years under different names, different faces, different packages, and this is just kind of the latest iteration of it. But as we know, the power that resides in Washington and the state governments has taken a turn more authoritarian than it has in a long time, and they, this experiment that we live in was based on individual rights and freedoms and private property rights.
Private property rights.
And private property rights is one of the things that sets us apart from most nations in the world. And if you ask me, this is also a first world problem. You're going to have a real hard time of going to convince poor people in other continents in India and Africa and other such things that they need to do this for the greater good. This is obviously a very first world problem.
Where was it? Sri Lanka did that with fertilizer, where they decided to all go organic, and then everybody's starving as a consequence. And the government, the governor's palace or the premier's palace was overrun by screaming mobs of people and wanting his head on a stick, basically. So, yeah, I mean, we see these models where it's being tried, and you got some pinhead in the Netherlands telling people in Sri Lanka how to farm without fertilizer.
Yeah, again, that's a first world problem.
Right. Well, so here's my point. Be forewarned, people. The America the Beautiful initiative, the 30 by 30, the wolf corridor, the beaver corridor, the 50% initiative, or whatever it's called. Let me look that up again. These are these buzzwords that you need to pay attention to. They are out there. They're stating their agenda openly. You just need to know how to listen. And the one thing that I have learned, rewilding the American West, the half-Earth philosophy. So all of these buzzwords, they're coming at you, and you need to know how to recognize it and how to parry and thrust.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm Loren Williams, United Country Colorado Brokers.
Gary Hubbell, ALC, United Country Colorado Brokers, UC Hunting Properties, UC Ranch Properties, and we'll have more for you in time. Stay tuned.